This is the Olympus XZ1, an advanced enthusiast compact. The XZ1, as you can see, is quite a small camera for its specification, considerably smaller, for example, than the Canon G series, but just a little bit larger than Canon's S series. It kind of sits in between the two. Despite its small size though, it manages to fit in a sensor which is one of the largest of its kind for a zoom compact camera, larger, for example, than the sensor in this G11 here. Now, one of the key features of this camera is the 4x iZuko digital zoom lens, which is equivalent to 28-112mm. And the most interesting aspect of this lens is it's a very fast lens, one of the fastest on the market. It's f1.8 at the maximum, at the widest angle, and it's f2.5 at the telephoto end. This makes it very useful for low light shooting, or for using lower ISOs or higher shutter speeds in a given light condition, or indeed for creating relatively shallow depth of field effects. You can see around the lens there's a click stop input dial here, which you can use to input apertures, shutter speeds, ISO, or a variety of different things depending on what mode you're in. On the top is a hot shoe to which you can attach either the FL50 or FL36 flash guns for dedicated flash control, and at the back here you can see an accessory port which enables you to attach a range of accessories, the most interesting of which is the VF2 electronic viewfinder, which is the same as that used on the Pen series of cameras. Now, by attaching this to the top and pressing the button, you get an electronic viewfinder with 100% field of view, an eyesight correction, Doppler control, and a really nice high point, so even if you wear glasses you can still see the whole image. And of course, as an electronic viewfinder, it shows all the shooting data and your white balance and exposure settings in the viewfinder. This is obviously it's £200 is the downside of this if you want this as an extra on top of the camera, but obviously it's an option that not many compact cameras give you, so it's pretty good to have. As you can see, the mode dial is on the top right here, and depending what mode you're in is what the ring around the lens does. So for example, in aperture priority it controls apertures, shutter priority it controls shutter speeds, in program mode it controls the ISO, and in manual mode it controls apertures, while the input dial on the back controls the shutter speeds. As well as the program aperture priority, shutter priority and manual modes on here, there's obviously an intelligent auto mode which uses scene recognition technology. There's the now familiar art filters, which create a range of post-processing effects to your pictures. There's a choice of 18 scene modes accessed from the scene position on here, and again input via this dial. There's a special low light mode, and there's a custom mode. My only criticism of this dial, it's very well placed, but it's quite easily knocked, and I found when using it, quite often I'd go to take a picture and found that it had been knocked onto a different mode to the one that I was expecting it to be on. The flash is a pop-up type, accessed by flicking the switch on the back. Now, if you need flash, the LCD screen will indicate that flash is required, but it's up to you to pop it up. So if you don't put the flash up, it won't go off. Okay, most of the key functions that you'd want to use on a regular basis are found by pressing the OK button on the back. As you can see, you've got your ISO modes, which go from 100 to 6400. You've got your picture styles, you've got white balance, drive modes, aspect ratios, a choice of 4:3, 16:9, 3:2, or square files. You use, of course, RAW, which is, of course, access from here, RAW plus JPEG if you want. You've got your movie mode here, HD or standard definition. You've got your flash modes, your flash exposure compensation, your metering patterns, which of course is a choice of spot, center weighted, or 324 zone ESP. There's an ND filter which cuts the light by 3 stops. If you want to shoot at wide apertures and it's too bright, you can turn the ND filter on. There's your various focusing modes, and as well as the autofocus modes, there's also a manual focus, and you get an enlarged image on the screen to help you with focusing. And of course there's face priority as well, which you can turn on or off. Of course, the feature list doesn't end there. The camera is capable of burst shooting, as well as the normal continuous mode is 2 frames a second. There's a reduced resolution 5 megapixel mode, which gives you 7 frames a second, and there's a mode which gives you 15 frames a second at 2 megapixels, which incidentally the quality is just awful, and I'd avoid that one completely. Another thing which is actually pretty good on here, which is almost unique in a compact like this, is this wireless flash triggering. If you set the wireless flash mode in the menu there, you can use this flash to trigger a remote dedicated Olympus flash gun. The camera is very stylishly designed and comes in a choice of matte black or gloss white. I do find that the gloss one, being shiny, if your hands are slightly sweaty, you don't feel like you've got as firm a grip on it as you'd like, and I'd prefer some sort of little hand grip or some sort of groove so you've got a really secure hold of the camera. But it's not a big issue. I think it would be nice to have that, but it's still plenty of space to hold the camera, and there's a little rubber grip on the back for your thumb as well. The image quality at 100 to 400 ISO is outstanding. Looking at the RAW files, they're pretty sharp, even from centre to corner, even at relatively wide apertures, which indicates that it's a very high quality lens that's used on the camera. As you go up the ISO scale, noise starts to creep in a little bit, but it isn't until ISO 1600 that the noise control starts to fall off a cliff a little bit, and with it the colour fidelity goes too, as you can see, a large amounts of chroma noise. But again, for a compact camera, it's still better than your average point and shoot. Once you go that far above ISO 1600, things start to get worse, and of course, although it goes up to ISO 6400, it's very inadvisable to use that setting unless you absolutely have to. Olympus has favoured sharpness over noise reduction on this camera, which is why pictures can get a little bit noisy at higher ISOs, but still seem relatively sharp, as opposed to some cameras which apply aggressive noise reduction to reduce the noise, but also kill the sharpness and definition. Now the colour balance, even on the normal setting, is quite saturated and punchy, but not unpleasantly so. The white balance performs well outdoors and usually indoors, although of course with the tungsten lighting it can be fooled a bit, and mixed lighting can flummox it completely. All the still images from the XZ1 are very good. The movie clips are a little bit disappointing. They're soft and lacking in detail, as they were over-compressed. It could be because they're trying to compensate for the space-hungry MPEG format that the camera records in, rather than the more efficient AVC HD used by some other cameras. For anyone looking for a compact of this kind, it's an extremely tempting proposition. It has a superb lens, it has a larger than average sensor, it has a superb screen on the back. This input dial for inputting exposure, so stuff like apertures and shutter speeds, is very quick to use and fantastic, frankly. The fact that you can attach the VF2 viewfinder makes it a great buy for anyone with eyesight problems or wears glasses who finds screens difficult to see, although of course it does cost you an extra £200. And the image quality up to 1600 is very good. Below 400 it's outstanding. In short, I can highly recommend this to the DSLR owning enthusiast who wants something that's going to give good quality pictures, lots and lots of control that'll fit in their pocket.